So we finally get the private investigator.
To be a private investigator, and that license, which I possess, gives me access to some stuff that's not readily available to the public through what's called PRR requests.
Okay.
So let's talk about. Tell me if you can. I have time. I'm driving. Tell me. I read your email, but tell me in a nutshell, what your concerns are and what your end goal is, so I can kind of determine how long it would take me and let you know what the pricing would be and all that. So everything's transparent and upfront.
My end goal is I want justice for my son, because I don't believe he died in that pond. I believe he was killed and put in that pond after. Yeah, and put in that pond after. And now I'm giving the runaround. If you agree to take my case, I have the police report which stated a date of another child that died before my son. One of the piece of the report, it said April 25th. My son died May 21st. So that was one mistake they made.
What they thought happened? Did they just say, "Oh, we found him and he drowned or natural cause"? What did they tell you?
When everything happened, when they tell me it was in that water, of course, I'm a human being. I pretty much, I want to go in that water and get my son.
Right.
So I was like, if he's not gonna go home, I'm not going home either. So pretty much they checked me in on a psycho ward. So I was not, they didn't, against my will. So I didn't get to make no decision or nothing. Nobody ever talked to me about my son or the next day.
Yeah. Right.
And apparently, the sergeant said, "You interview me." I'm like, "No, you did not." And he's like, how do I look like? Then he was like, "What day was your son die?" I'm like, if you interview me, why you asking me what day he died? That make no sense to me.
Okay. Have they accused you of a crime?
No.
Okay. I just want to make sure they haven't come at you for anything.
No. Pretty much, I didn't get to see my son the next day on like 11 a.m. When I saw my son in that table, it was just too much to bear.
I understand.
It's too much. Yeah. Beating his nose, tip of his nose is gone, his lips is gone, his cheek is gone, his chest was open. And I asked the doctor, I'm like, why his chest was open? He said, so you won't smell. No. When I Google it, they removed his organ without my consent. They took his organ out without my consent. And his legs was working. When I tried to touch his legs, the doctor stopped me. Something's going on in that town, and something needs to be done about it.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right.
Exactly. Something is very wrong.
And I've been doing this 20 years, and that doesn't sound right.
And
I've been to 1,000 autopsies. None of this makes sense.
And that's the thing. Got the autopsy. At first, I was told it was a fish that eat him. Now I'm told it's a turtle. The police report is just very different from. Okay, I know it's supposed to be different. It's two different part.
Right.
But it just makes no sense. There's too many missing pieces. And last week, I was able to talk to the first lawyer I had hired, and I had to fire him because it seemed like I was in trial.
Yeah,
I have the recording. If you agree to take my case, I will send you the recording as well, so you could know exactly what I'm dealing with.
Right.
Horrible. I never hear from the sergeant. After I spoke to the lawyer, boom, the sergeant called. Again, I record that one too. If you listen to this recording, you're going to know something's wrong. Something's very, very wrong in that town.
Do you have the ability to send me the recordings?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, okay. Take me probably minimum 4 or 5 months to get all of the information in, to get autopsy photos released. I might have to file, civil suits through the law firm and send demand letters and try to get every piece of information, because if they're doing something wrong, they're going to try to hide it. So I got to make sure. Then I got to pull records on all the investigation progress.
Question for you.
Yeah.
If I wanted to exhume the body to show his legs was working, what would be that process?
We would have, first off, I would have to decide that would be necessary if the autopsy was not done correctly. I would have to find something they did wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Then I would have Mr. Hernandez draft an order of exhumation and file it with the courts.
Even if I'm in New York?
Yeah, it all has to be done in Florida.
Okay, perfect. Another question for you. At first, I was told there's a video. Now all of a sudden, the video disappear.
The video of what?
Of him walking in the water. Now all of a sudden, there's no video.
Well, it cannot disappear by law. If they disappeared that video, they've committed a crime. It's absolutely unlawful in Florida. There's what's called record retention laws. They have to keep all the evidence for, I think, 10 years on a death investigation. And at the end of their investigation, they say, oh, he died of natural causes. That's a heart attack. Well, under that natural death, they have to keep it 10 years, the video.
But I was told my son's case was closed. There's nothing that could be done. It's accident. I'm like, no, it's not accident.
It's absolutely not true.
Oh, thank you. Because it's like nothing I could do.
Just so you know, if you look at my website, unlike any of the other websites, there's something on there called Suicide and Death Review.
Mm-hmm.
I get suicide cases reopened all the time because the police say, oh, it was a suicide. I find evidence it wasn't, and they reopen it and do a murder investigation. So this is literally what I do for a living.
I just think there's a cover-up. I think it's like, I don't know, between the town and the doctor office and the sheriff department, something's very wrong. Something's not right. I feel like I'm acting out of emotion.
Well, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to be straight up with you.
Please.
You are not qualified to do the investigation yourself. It is because you don't speak investigator, right? If that makes sense.
Yeah,
so
makes
that's
sense.
why you're calling me, which is the right thing to do.
Of course. I have my sister here with me. She have a question for you.
Yeah.
Yes. Are you familiar with working with the Jacksonville Police Department?
Yeah, the Jacksonville Police Department is actually called the Jacksonville Police Office of the Sheriff.
Office of the Sheriff.
It's the only department where the sheriff, who's an elected official, is run by a city council. It's the only one in Florida that does that. So it's weird that that's the one. And I'm there all the time. It's a child drowning. They're like, oh, it's a drowning, close it. Let's go to the next one.
No, but it's not the first one, though.
I think what the main concern is when she has called the sheriff's department, when she's spoken to the lead investigator and the department lead, there was a runaround. There was an emphatic, no, we will not open this case, even though she had these questions, even though these autopsies. That's what I'm saying. We just want to make sure that you are someone that will work for her.
Yeah, I work for her. By law, just so you know, in Florida, private investigators under my license, it's the same as attorney-client privilege. I'm required to work for her, not for the police, and I am not allowed to tell the police anything unless I get permission from her. That's the way the law is in Florida. So it's 100% consumer-based, where I have to advocate for my clients just like an attorney. Here's the key. You guys are talking to the police, right? And you're telling the actual lead investigators, this is what I want. They are not obligated to tell you anything. They're not obligated to do what...
But they made it a point to say, we cannot and we will not open this case. They made it a point to say those words.
Well, that's not true, and let me tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
There's the sheriff is an elected official, okay? Mm-hmm. He has to get reelected every year. That's number one. So the first thing I would do out of respect for the agency is I would go to the sheriff and say, here's what your detectives are saying. And let me say this too. If I go to the sheriff tomorrow or I go to the state attorney and I say, I want this reinvestigated, they're going to say to me, why?
Yeah.
And I cannot just tell them it's because you want me to.
Of course.
So what we do is we do a thorough investigation. You want me to. If I go to the sheriff tomorrow or I go to the state attorney and I say, I want this reinvestigated, they're going to say to me, why?
Yeah.
And I cannot just tell them it's because you want me to.
Of course.
So what we do is we do a thorough investigation, and I find a bunch of mistakes or questions they did not ask. Mm-hmm. And then I present that to the sheriff. Hey, here's my resume. I've been a homicide detective 20 years. I've reviewed your file. You failed to do X, Y, Z, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's an incomplete investigation, and I want it open. If the sheriff says, tough shit, we're not doing it. We will go to a judge, and then the judge will order it reopened.
Got
Okay.
you. That
So
works.
that's the political process.